If you can see behind me, you can tell what my wife made me get.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Or herself or you.
We are on YouTube.
Yeah. All right. All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Nope, you're good. It was just YouTube starting up. Sorry.
All right. Oh,
Hey,
very
Dan.
good. Well, I'll go ahead and let's go ahead and call the meeting of Whatcom County Fire District 4 Board of Fire Commissioners regular scheduled October 21st meeting to order. In doing so, why don't we go ahead and take a quick roll call of who we have in there here today, and I'll go ahead and just start it out. Dave Hansen, Fire Commissioner.
Mark Chamberlain, Fire Commissioner.
Harry Andrews, Fire Commissioner.
Bruce Parks, District Administrator.
Jason Vanderveen, Fire Chief.
Joe Quinn, attorney.
Very good. Well, hello, everybody. I hope everybody's staying safe through these crazy times that we're living through. I think what we'll go ahead and do is we'll just right off the bat start out with the consent agenda, the approval of our consent agenda from our last meetings. And with that in order, we will be covering, approving in that consent agenda the minutes from the September 16th meeting, regular meeting, the October 8th special meeting, any staff reports that were turned in, our financial reports, as well as vouchers to include a District 4 direct deposit for payroll of $5,856, as well as a District 4 expenditure voucher in the sum of $531,961.38. And that is obviously to pay our quarterly year end, our last payment of the year. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? With none, we'll go ahead and the motion carries and consent agenda is passed. We've got kind of a lot of information, a lot of stuff to cover today. I don't know that it's necessarily going to take a lot of discussion, but we'll just jump into with our old business. We had old business was our stations, the sale of Station 11, and then obviously our audit update, training consortium update, which I think Jason is going to give us a bit of an update on that today. Yes, and then Mark is planning to give us an update on the RFA planning process. And I think on that, because we'll just go through those, we'll just start with Station 11. And as everyone knows, we had a record turnout for a 3-day sale of a facility. And we, to be honest, Heather, we kind of expected that was going to happen. We priced the facility at a surplus price to which we thought was fair to our community. Though we know with the sale of a public building, we have to come in, set a price where we felt comfortable. However, there were some folks that really wanted that facility as to tie in with their own existing properties. And we ended up settling a $250,000 sale price on the facility. So that was very positive and very helpful at a time for us, you know, as we are utilizing our funds to better our community and our response and what we're doing. So any questions on the sale or anybody want to know anything about it? It was like I said, it was a very interesting 3 days. We had all kinds of viewers. Heather was very, very busy. The first 2 hours of when she listed it, it was within the first 2 hours, she'd had 28 phone calls. And over the 3 days, she was well into the over 100, but closer to a couple hundred inquiries. So I would like to recognize Henry Hollander. Henry went out there, sifted through piles of garbage that was stored, old. One of the areas was being used to store, kind of as a storage facility, And there was a lot of rat feces, mice feces, dead rats and mice in there. And, but he put his respirator on and he went through that place and had some help also. I'm not sure who that was that was helping him, but he had somebody there helping. And that's just, Chief, thank you for organizing that and having that handled for us.
Yep. And just so you know, there was some scrap that came out of that.
Yes.
That money's been given to Chris.
Yes.
So there was even a little
that was a pleasant
silver lining to
surprise.
the cloud, right?
That showed us that he was considering everything. And
Yep.
I believe we got something like almost $70, just shy of $70 for some scrap metal. That was, I believe, the tin sheets on the floor and some other things that were basically definitely ready to go somewhere to a better place. All right. Any other questions on that? I'm still having, we've gotten a couple of requests. It was going to close on the 26th. It's going to close now on the 28th. And Chris, we got a request for some additional information. They needed that document that we'd all approved where I could sign off on it. And so I'll sign that today. I have to sign on that, I guess, today, and then we'll send that to the Whatcom Land Title Company or Land Trust or whatever they are.
Yeah, title company. They sent us an email today. I don't know if you saw it, Dave,
No.
but the title company needs more information, and Heather advised that we should forward the information to the lawyer. So I emailed it over to Joe for review.
Beautiful.
They need like a copy of the death certificate, copy of the will from Doc Albee, and some other documents. So
From Albies, they have nothing to do with it now.
yeah, it has to do
That
with
would be if they were the seller.
it has to do with the first right of refusal.
All right, we're turning it over to you, Joe.
Okay, I had a little time to look at that today, and I've looked at that issue before, and I said, basically, well, then right of first refusal could be a cloud on the title, could be a problem if they're still alive. So the realtor has done a lot of work, it looks like, and the title company too. And we ended up writing a letter, as you might remember.
Yes.
Because they found the lady. The husband's dead.
Right.
This was granted 41 years ago, but I thought maybe they're still alive. And if they're still alive, they have a right to repurchase according to that recorded document.
Right.
She's still alive. So the title company is basically saying there's a cloud on the title until you can clear that cloud.
They responded to us.
I know. And the title company is saying that's not good enough yet. She's not interested in repurchasing it. As I understood it from the email, and it was kind of cryptic, really. As I understood it, she might not even be competent, and she's given a power of attorney to a son. And the son, between the son and her, we've confirmed that she's not interested in rebuying it. It was sold to you in 1979, 41 years ago, apparently for $1,000. And the right to repurchase doesn't mean that she can repurchase it for $1,000.
Right.
It means that she can repurchase it as, in terms of the sale, as a competitor, she has to first right of refusal.
Right.
Well, that presents a cloud on the title as far as the title company is concerned. If I'm a buyer, I don't want to see that exception, because it's possible that one of the grantors, if still alive, could come in and bollocks up my sale if I'm the buyer. So this exception number 6, they're telling us what it would take to clear that off there.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet. So
that exception number 6 is about the right to repurchase. And so until that's cleared off there, it's a cloud on the title. So the buyer is going, well, I don't know if I want to buy it. I don't know if I want to close.
Right.
Because I haven't got a clear title.
Right.
So they're going to mess up our closing date. I didn't realize it was quite that soon. It's imminent. But what you'd have to get is all the items that they mentioned. They need a death certificate to prove that he died. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
That's readily available through the county.
Okay.
Vital Statistics would have a death certificate. A copy of his will, I don't know. We'd have to get that from the son, probably. If the son knows, somebody must know if there's a will. He conceivably could have deeded his interest to someone other than his surviving spouse.
In the contract, in that agreement, it said it didn't forward. It wasn't forwardable. I remember reading the contract.
Assignable? It wasn't assignable?
Yeah, you couldn't assign it. It could only go between the only two people that had the rights were the husband or wife. It dies with them.
Yeah, it still doesn't solve our problem because she's still alive. So even if we could get around the death certificate document and a probate affidavit that there was no probate, we still have the basic problem that she is confirmed to be still alive and has a right of first refusal. So
Did
would
they
do-
not send us back a written that they were not interested?
just an email.
Oh, so we need a sworn letter of some type.
Right. The one of the emails, I don't know if that was the one from the title company or if it was the realtor that said we need a release of the option document prepared by your attorney. We could prepare a release of the right of first refusal. It's not an option. An option is a different type of document in real estate transactions.
Yes.
This is a right of first refusal, but it is recorded and it's of record on the property.
Didn't it state though that we had 2 weeks from the date that we offered them that? I thought the letter we sent them said they had 2 weeks to respond on the right of refusal, and I thought that was written into the agreement somewhere that they had 2 weeks to respond, and if they didn't respond, then we were clear to move ahead.
That's not in the original right of
That's
first
not
refusal.
very good.
No, we can't really even try to enforce that.
Okay.
We wanted to know because we wanted to know promptly due to the imminence of the transaction.
Right.
But the fact is, the realtor or somebody found out that she is alive,
Mhm.
found out that she's not interested in repurchasing or making an offer.
Right.
So all we really have to do is somehow clear this exception so there's no cloud on the title. Otherwise, if I'm the buyer, I might say, no, I'm not closing because you can't even really guarantee me the warranty of good title.
Right.
So we need to
So
do
are you going to handle that, Joe, for us then?
Well, I could do the release of the right to repurchase for her signature. And,
Right.
and I think the realtor could act almost like our paralegal here.
Yes,
She's got an interest in getting this transaction closed almost as much as anybody else.
I'd say.
And so she might be able to shepherd that through the process of explaining it to the family that all she's doing is confirming her email. This is just a release of the right to repurchase. And then we get that executed in front of a notary. We provide that to the title company. In the meantime, somebody needs to track down the death certificate. That's not hard.
Mhm.
I guess I want to satisfy the title company, okay?
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't be that hard to prepare a lack of probate affidavit, but I don't even know if that's a true statement. I don't know about the husband's probate. So we need some documents that either exist or we need them prepared. And I can help with some of that, and the realtor can help with getting stuff if she's willing to save us a lot of legal time.
Sure. Why don't we have Chris work with you on that then, and just whatever we need to get done. I think all of us are full support of just having you get it taken care of.
As far as I'm concerned, it's probably 2 hours of work, depending on how much is in my task to-do list and how much is in the realtor's to-do list. It's only a couple hours work, but it's got to be done.
Sure.
Sounds like.
Sure. And that's something that's on District 4. We understand that. We need to get that done. So that's, I don't think Commissioner Andrews or Commissioner Chamberlain or, I think we all understand that, whatever it's going to take to get that done.
Yep, I'd be happy to answer any questions,
guys?
but I think it's a cloud on the title until we do something to remove it.
Yeah. And it's not like, I think that he's not in his, slam. He actually had to leave town to go do some stuff. And I don't think the buyer is stressing out on the closing date. And we sure aren't. I'd like to see it close for the end of the year, but the sooner the better, obviously. Sooner we get it off our plate and have one less thing that this group has to focus on as we're really trying to put all our energy into passing an RFA.
Has the closing date been extended?
It was
before?
extended to the 28th, but that's only 2 days, so we may need more time.
Okay.
All right. Okay, any other questions, Commissioner Andrews or Commissioner Chamberlain? Do you have any questions in regards to any of that?
None here.
None here. Thanks for the update, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Welcome. Do you need me on the RFA planning issue or any other issue?
I don't think we really do right now. I think we want to get you on here for this, and unless the guys have Mark, did you need the any legal
No,
involvement?
not at this time.
All right. All right, Joe. We thank you very much for joining us.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
you're welcome. Bye-bye.
You, Joe.
All right, gang. Thanks everybody for wading through that with us. Audit update. Chris, can you go ahead and give us an update on the audit? I know that we all received, should have all received our closing letter.
Yep, the audit concluded last week on Friday on the 16th. And the auditor sent out the exit document to everybody. And the audit highlight was that he thanked us, the district, for the openness and positive attitude towards the audit process, as well as the quick responses, which helped the audit come in under budget. So they budgeted 15,000 and it's 12,500 now.
That's excellent.
So
Yeah.
with a clear audit, nothing, no recommendations, no management, no finding, no management letter, no findings.
That's great. And, you know, we commend you. I believe all of us commend you, Chris, for the job and the efforts you put into that. I know, and I'd asked you to look at a couple other things, and you told me once you got done with your audit, you would be willing to look at some other things. So I knew you were very intense into it. I did get to have a really nice conversation with Steve Lutz, and I believe that was Steve was his first name.
Yeah.
And I believe he's watching actually. But he was very, very complimentary of our records, how we keep everything. And he stated every time he asked for a document, it was handed to him. Basically, it was just right there. And he says he has you know, other districts that he does his audits with, that he's working with, that he's waiting on documents on document after document. And, you know, he said that doesn't always, I asked the question and he definitely gave the answer, is that they tend to look at those documents much in more detail, I guess. So we appreciate you being prepared and having the information. And I know even right up through the chief, he says you do a great job with the financials on our, you know, keeping track of that type of stuff. So I appreciate it. Anything else? Anybody else on the audit? Any questions for Chris?
None here.
Nope,
Mark?
no questions.
All right, really good. Training consortium, Chief, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so where we're at with the training consortium, or the lease of building B, there is Bellingham Fire is currently going through what it would take to separate out the IT stuff. So, you know, the fire station and Chris's office is tied into our system with Tech Help, and Bellingham needs to come in at their expense and put in a parallel system so that they could use their own network. They are interested in, one of the things they're interested in doing is pulling fiber, city fiber, to the building, which is at Squalicum. And so they're looking at what that would cost and how that would work, and potentially even allowing us to piggyback on that fiber, where we might pay some of the upfront costs of pulling that fiber in, and then have no monthly costs for fiber going forward. So it's, you know, yeah, exactly. It's when I was asked, I'm like, yeah, that's a good deal. We'll take it.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at in the process now. As far as a timeline for like a move-in date, I can't give you that. Chief Hewitt won't give me that, but things are looking good. And yeah, they're waiting on their IT folks, like I said, to kind of build out that network.
All right. Very good. So appreciate that update, and we'll just continue. This is a work in progress, and it will be for a while. So On that note, anything else? Anybody have any questions for the chief in regards to the future of safety, fire training consortium?
None here.
Okay. All righty. Mark, Commissioner Chamberlain, RFA planning process updates. How we doing? I think we've got a meeting tomorrow again, and
Yeah, we got a meeting tomorrow at 3.
Yeah.
That's meeting number 4. We had meeting number 3 on, let's see, a couple weeks ago. And there was 4 documents that we discussed in that meeting on the 7th. And that we wanted to take to each board to review, to discuss, and basically kind of get approval. 2 of them, two of them have already been approved, and one of them is the charter. Have you guys all had a chance to read through the charter?
Mhm.
Basically, the charter is the commission. It's the adoption rules. It includes the mission, the goals, membership, talks about process, public input, communication, talks about chair, vice chair, resignation, and replacement of a member, meeting process, any decision making, staff support, funding, approval, and amendment of charter. This was already approved as written. This has already been discussed several of the meetings. I think most of the changes that have been made are pretty concrete. I don't know if we're going to see any changes in this at all. This is just basically kind of like our guideline, how we're going to operate, how the whole committee works together. Is there any questions? Have you guys all had a chance to review this document?
I
No
have.
questions?
No question.
What's that? Nope. The second one is the work plan. Now, this basically kind of discusses about, it's like a workflow and a timeline, and it's based on the committee having approximately 15 meetings from now until probably the end of April before we kind of go into the election process. And now that can vary. It can be adjusted. This document goes by each meeting and what we want to accomplish as a committee for the plan. And if we need to add more meetings, we can. There was some discussion in our last meeting on the 7th about per RCW 52, I don't know, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
How each year we're only allowed to collect 700. I don't know the RCWs to the exact T, so.
That's fine.
But we're only allowed to collect $700 per year on commissioner meetings. So that's
right.
$70 a meeting. So 10 meetings. And is basically we decided if we go over that 10 meetings, then no one had a problem doing meetings without compensation.
That's right.
But so this is a working document. We approved it with the idea that it can change, and things may not get done some meetings, and sometimes maybe we'll get ahead of things. So this work plan, it's not as concrete as the charter, but this just gives us kind of a list of, to check off, move forward, so we could get stuff done in a timely manner and be prepared so we could pass this to our citizens. Anybody have any questions about the workflow or the work plan?
None here.
Nope. Probably the two important documents that we wanted to bring to the board, to each board, the District 21 board and the District 4 board. I know they talked about these last week, but it's the communication plan and also the text that's going to go on the website. And the communication plan was approved. This is also kind of a working document. It can be updated as decisions are made. But this is basically how the committee is going to, the plan is going to operate in terms of communicating towards the public and getting the word out, going from now until probably until the end of April, when we get to that election process and we are looking for an election strategist to, like, consultant. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes.
Yeah, and this it just talks about going to the public, Q&A. It talks about how we're going to keep ourselves informed, how we're going to keep our boards informed. And it's just kind of guidelines on how communication. Talks about who our audience is, what strategy we're going to use on how we get the word out, and also what kind of tactics we're going to attack when it comes to this communication. Like I said, this communication plan has been approved, but we're kind of expecting that decisions will be made towards it, and it can be updated. So it's kind of also an ongoing process, just like the work plan. I take it you guys all had time to review these. Did anybody have any comments or concerns or questions about the communication plan?
I did not.
Did you want to add anything about it, Chief, at all?
No, just that I think that we are going to need some outside help as far as some expertise. Maybe not help is the best word, but outside expertise to help us craft the message and get it out to the voters in the most efficient manner possible and expeditious as well, just based on the timeframes. And then just a quick update that the RFA tab has been added to both the D4 and the D21 website, and we started to post nothing about the RFA yet. We're waiting for guidelines from commissioners or from both boards and from the planning committee, but that the minutes and all the official documents have started to go up there
That's
that
good.
have already been approved. So
And that's probably where the next document, where the text will go.
correct.
Yeah, so this was the fourth document that I had Chris add to the agenda item, and this basically is just a Q&A on just common questions the public may have. What is an RFA? How is it created? Why? Who else has done it? And what happens to my firefighters? My stations. It's just a good information for the public. They may have simple questions. And this kind of falls underneath our communication plan. Like the chief said, this is going to go on each district website underneath, each tab, probably along with a question form where the public, am I correct, where the public could add a question and say, hey, what's going to happen here? Maybe questions that aren't in this text.
Right.
Also, I think that's where we'll post when we have public meetings. I think we're going to have like a couple of those in February, if I'm correct, and
Some
March.
outreach.
Yeah, that's also in the communication plan. But these two documents kind of go. I mean, the communication plans basically explains how we're going to communicate. How we're going to do it, and then this is just the why, what, where, when, how to the public. It's and we wanted everybody to kind of look at this, if they had any insight, if anything they wanted to add, if everybody felt was okay, if there's any concerns with it, if we get any feedback for our next meeting, maybe we need to change anything. Anybody have any of this? Am I moving too fast here?
You're perfect. Just perfect.
I'll try not to delineate any more RCWs.
We understood blah, 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 or whatever it was.
Any questions at all?
I would just state that agreeing with you and with Chief Vanderveen is that I think the crucial part is getting somebody on board to help with the communication standpoint side of this. There's just going to be, I see a lot of room for a lot of questions coming from the public, especially as we go out and speak with them as individuals, to our neighbors, to our communities, of the importance that, and along with District 21 as well, that because they're going to be faced with the same, is that we're sending the same message out and sharing the same. I guess that's what I really want to say, is that we're all sharing the same message. And I know there's questions in regards to and been a little confusion on it, but on the cost and what is that going to mean to the District 4 taxpayer? Is there an increase? You know, is it wiping out the EMS levy or the countywide EMS tax? Just how that all comes together. And I think it's better to wait until we have somebody that can help us formulate those answers. And also, I know you guys are working on a little bit, getting a little more information on how that actually will, what we're going to have to request. So
Yeah, Karen suggests, once the RFA plan is done, we're going to take it to both boards, and once the boards, approve it, then we're going to be looking at getting an election communication strategy consultant. That's her recommendation, and I don't know how to run an election, and I'm not sure many of us do. So I definitely want this to pass 100%, and I want it to be successful. So if we have the money to do it and we can do it, and there's somebody out there, I am in full support of it.
Well, Miss Reed seems to be very knowledgeable in what she's doing and in her duties of what we brought her on to do. So I think we're probably the best bet to put our trust in her and follow her direction on it as of right now, anyway. Because I sure don't have. I'm like you. I don't. I've never ran a process like this before.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not simple. But other than just emphasizing getting the consultant, is there any other feedback that we need to add to the communications plan and the text? Harry, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I think that's going to be money well spent to get that.
And other than those 4 documents, there was just some discussion on just follow-up questions on the EMS levy. Karen brought forth a document that with some comparisons. It kind of shows how our EMS levy works and the county's EMS levy works. There's some discussion about getting a financial analysis. The board moved to approve to have Chief get somebody to do a 7-year financial analysis, and he's gotten a gentleman named Bill Cushman. I think you guys are all familiar with this, and he's working right now. I think it's in the preliminary phase. Am I correct, Chief? Just a look at what is this district, this RFA, gonna need going forward, and how much is that gonna cost, and what are we gonna be looking at to put in front of the voters to see how much this thing's gonna cost. And then just going over those documents pretty much. And the other document that I haven't talked about yet, and it needs to be approved, is our values and principles. There's still some things that we kind of want to add to there and put in concrete. That's pretty much all I have at this time. Any other feedback or anything? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Great job, Mark, and thank you for all your hard work that you're putting in on this. I know it's been a lot of extra time spent for you, and as well to everybody that's serving on that committee. I know I'm on there, but I sure can't take any credit for where it's at yet today. So appreciate, and I don't need to. You guys have done a great job. So I just will continue to review what you send me and give comment as we can.
Well, thank you. I believe that, us all working together is going to be the key to going forward.
Yep.
It wouldn't work any other way.
No.
Commissioner Andrews, any other questions for Commissioner Chamberlain? Harry?
No, I just want to add my thanks to Mark for doing all that work. And I know it's very time consuming.
Well, thanks, Harry. I appreciate that. And thank you for, both of you and Chris as well for your time in those meetings. And anything you guys brief forward, any feedback, just please let the committee know. And
yeah,
I'll appreciate it.
Very good. Well, if nothing else on those topics there, why don't we move into our new business? And number 1 is our facility use policy. Chris, do you want to talk about that and talk about maybe those first 2 lines? The other one is facility rental rates for the Bellingham Fire Department starting in December of 2020, and we'll probably have some discussion on that. But we want to start out with facility use policy, Chris.
Okay, I prepared a spreadsheet with comparable rates, what other fire departments charge. And I met with Chief Van der Veen, and we developed rates, new facility rental rates, and put those ones on a sheet called a fee schedule. Then I looked over the facility use policy and made some changes to it. And Chair Hansen would like to add January 1st as the start date for the new policy. And yeah, and the
That's just a suggestion.
changes
Makes
that
sense.
yeah. Did you have a chance to review the policy? Would you like to make any changes?
I didn't have any, Commissioner Andrews, did you?
Oh,
see
I didn't have
anything?
any changes. Looks good.
Commissioner Chamberlain?
It looks good to me.
Why don't we, if we could have a motion, I think we should approve that by a motion if somebody wants to.
All so
entertain a
moved.
motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Chief Van der Veen, anything you wanted to add on that or just?
No, I think it's a fair, the policy use and the fees, I think, are fair based on comparables that we looked at. I think
Okay, well, really good. Then we'll go ahead, the motion carries. And so I guess we'll vote all in favor, aye, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion carries and we'll move forward with that one. The facility rental rates starting 2020, we just discussed that anyway. I was just suggesting that we start the new rates in January. That way we're keeping it simplified. I kind of like doing things on a calendar year. If anybody's got a problem with that, I mean, we could start them as effective December 1st, but I wouldn't suggest that. I'd suggest that we start out in January, but anybody have any suggestions or?
It sounds good to me.
January sounds good too as well.
All right, so January it'll be. I don't think we need to do anything with that, do we, Chris? We don't need to do that by motion. You just need to know that, right?
Well, you made a motion. I mean, it's already on the document, January
Okay.
1st. So
All right.
you just have to sign it when
Very good.
you all come in.
All right.
The next item is the facility rental fees for Bellingham.
Oh, okay.
Since their contract terminated December 1st, we have to basically charge them starting December 1st, you know. And we would still use the old rates that are currently in place.
And I had asked the question if we could not just extend out the agreement by 1 month, but it does start getting into, because of the agreement expiring on December 1st, then we get into that colluded issue of gifting of public funds. So I don't know, Chief, if you know any further on that, but it's my understanding we could just charge the old rates for December. And then in January, we would start out with the new rates. And I think we probably have to do that.
Yep. Well, Chris and I traded some emails back and forth.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be the fairest and most consistent way. Correct.
All right.
And that way it's the same for everybody.
Everybody's good with that.
I'm all good with that.
I'm good with it. Harry's good with it. I can see it in his eyes.
Hey, you can.
All right. The next item is Fire Commissioner guidelines for conducting meetings and official duties. And it was some time back, I think Commissioner Ansel shared District 21's policy with me. And one of our responsibilities, obviously, as a board is to, from time to time, be going through our policies and procedures and making sure that they're up to date and they're current. And we've got a lot of policies and procedures to catch up on probably for reviews. But I thought probably the most important one for us to have is, a well-written out document of our responsibilities and how we operate as a board. And so I asked Chris to look at District 21's policy, go through that, and wordsmith it up a little bit to make it fit our needs. And once she does that, then I would like that, then I was hoping she could submit that to all of us for review. We can make comment on it. But with a goal of, again, our goal would be, I'd like to see that where we can have that ready to roll out by January 1 for the new year. Does anybody anybody else have any thought on that or discussion?
On here.
Just as long as we could have ample time to review those policies.
Yeah, and we'll between now, she should be able to, I think, Chris, you were talking, hoping to having that out next month sometime.
Depends. Right now, we have to work on a budget the
Oh,
next 2 weeks a lot. So with Chief Vanderveen, so I don't think.
We won't approve it until we have everybody agrees.
Yeah. And once we're finished with a budget, then I can continue immediately and send it out mid-November, around that time.
Right. And that takes us right into the 2021 budget and the changes to the budget process. There's been some changes that are affecting the fire service across Whatcom County, I believe, right now, and other agencies as well, because there's quite a change to how we've not how we've done our budgets, but how we've had to submit them. And Chris, can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, we received a letter from the Whatcom County Assessor's Office that this year they need to follow the RCW, that budgets need to be submitted to the county by November 30th, and they need to be finished. And so the budget process will change. We have to send in our budget by November 17th, I believe, and it goes to the county council this time, and then it gets approved by the county council and forwarded to the assessor's office. And the assessor will not send out a levy affidavit like they used to in the past. They will just apply our 1% increase that we have to the previous year. So the process is a little bit different, and the budget needs to be submitted by the 17th.
Which means there's, obviously District 21 with a much bigger budget and line items. It's got a lot more work than we have, but we've got some work to get done, and that's going to need a lot of what we do reflects on with what they do with their budget, and what their budget reflects, has to do with what we do, or our budget reflects or affects them and has bearings on how they get theirs done as well. So we're probably going to need to have some type of a special meeting, budget meeting, probably quite short soon. Chris, you're going to need to tell us what we need.
Yep, the board needs to decide which way we should go with the budget this year. Should we do the budget like we did in the previous years? Apply a percentage, and I talked to Chief Vanderveen about some percentage numbers yesterday, and just use the how did you call it, Chief? The cut budget, or the adjusted District 21 budget, excluding a few items, and apply the percentage to it? Or do we pay District 21 for the staff, like the firefighters, the fire chief, certain operational supplies, and a few other items, vehicle repair? No, not the vehicle repair. And pay our own bills, like utilities, small repairs, or larger repairs, supplies, things like that. So the board has to decide which way we want to go with the budget. Before that hasn't been decided, we can't really work on the budget. That's the first thing we need to decide. What kind of budget do we want?
Right.
The cut budget and the percentage, or pay for personnel and pay our own bills?
And with that kind of coming into place, and since you brought that up, that's what we need to look at. We've got some questions we've got to have answers by the board, and we've got to come to some agreements. But we have raised the issue with the budget, where we're currently we agree to pay a percentage of the District 21's budget. However, we don't really have a say in what their budget is. And as I read through the ILA, and I had asked prior, we'd asked Attorney Quinn for his feedback on that. The ILA, it was set up to be reconciled basically at the end of each year. And that's never, in everything I can find, any minutes I've ever found, that's not happened. So in other words, if we had paid certain amount of money for items that the funds weren't used for that, and that's where they're supposed to be used, that should be reconciled back in a form of a credit to the district. If we overexpended in that area, we would be responsible for a credit or paying an additional charge. And literally, if we wanted to, we don't. I think we're probably best to look at 2020. That's where we're at right now. The past is the past, and to go back would be timely and costly to both districts. And that's not our intent. However, we do feel that it would be beneficial to have both our boards get together in a meeting and do a review of the report that Chris generated that shares some areas that we felt we should be credited back. And I know she's went through that with Chief Vanderveen, and there's areas that make sense, and there's some that when it's explained, maybe it's rightfully it's not apples. It's not apples and apples. I guess what I'm trying to say is possibly like hiring new firefighters. Well, there's a few positions that weren't filled, but the funds had to be utilized to cover the cost of those shifts still. Am I hitting on that correctly, Chief? You want to help me out at all? Or
no, that's right. If we have unfunded, if we have firefighters that are not firefighter positions that are open, those shifts are still getting pulled. They're still getting worked by somebody. It's just different pay rate. And so, yeah, it's not as easy just to say that those positions weren't filled. We need credit back.
Right. And some of the areas that we looked at were commissioner elections should be, should District 4 really be paying the District 21's commissioner election costs? And I don't think anybody really intended that it would work that way, but that's how it was kind of written. And then, we could take that to some of the other areas, Chris's wages, and how that's rolling out. And I know the chief's looking at that. We're trying to maybe see if all areas are equal in the percentage. There might be some percentages we could reduce. I have a suggestion. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it. One is we have a meeting, and we have a joint meeting of the two boards, and it would have to happen soon. And we go through the items line by line so they can all understand it. Or two, which I'm leaning towards thinking maybe it's a better option, but would be one of us commissioners. It doesn't necessarily have to be myself, but I'd be happy to do it. And Chris meeting with the chief and with a representative of their board, probably Commissioner Ansel, but whoever or his designee, and probably have Benita would be involved, and if that's their call. But reviewing the information we have, reviewing our thoughts on what we feel would be an ample fair credit back for 2020, and then and then see what we can come back as a group and come back and recommend. We get in a room, we can come back and make a recommendation to you guys, to the group as a whole, both boards. And I think if the two chairs, come back and we can agree on something to present to you, hopefully it should resolve the issue for credits. The credit would be, it would not be any transfer of monies or funds like that. It would be recognized in our 2021 payments, whether it's $50,000 or it's $200,000. It doesn't really matter. That would be built into our 2021 rates. And that's something we need to look at. As you noticed, we have a voucher approved for $531,961.38. That's our end of the year. That's our last payment for 2020. Am I correct on that, Chief? Or Chris?
Yes.
So we have that. We need to honor our commitment that we made at the beginning of this year, and we need to go ahead and turn that payment over. And I think that it would just be creating more issues if we said we're going to hold that payment until we work this out. However, we are going to withhold any 2020, or I would recommend we withhold any 2021 payments until we all agree upon how that should look and how we want to recreate this budget, whether it's Chris paying all of our bills or not. But I think the only way we can get there is if we get a meeting together with Commissioner Ansel and the chief and Chris and myself, and probably Benita as their business manager or whoever their financial manager is. And I believe it's Benita. So I guess I'm asking for your feedbacks from both of you commissioners.
I have a comment, something to think about. Where in the world did we ever come up with this asinine percentage of their budget, and we can't have any control of what they buy? This is
That's a good question.
to negotiate a fixed amount, and then every year we should go along with the ILA said we have to renegotiate that. But just a fixed amount payments is the way to go, unless they're going to let us write their budget.
Right.
We can't complain about their hiring people and fire marshals, and assistant fire marshals, and all that stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's why I think that, there's a lot of new players on board now that weren't on board when those came together. And I think even from the District 21's board, they have some people are asking the same questions. So we just need to rework our ILA. Hopefully it's got to get us through 8 months or a year, of 2021. We pass our RFA and we are officially able to put the past behind us. However we got there. And looking at our financials with Chris, I will be honest, we're looking very good for 2021. We can pay our bills. The help of the sale of 21 didn't hurt or Station 11, not selling District 21, we get in trouble for that. Sale of District 11 helps us to achieve that. But just because we have the money to make all those payments next year doesn't mean that we can just go handing out money. We need to be thinking about, and we need to have a plan. If the RFA, and I knock on wood, but if we didn't pass this RFA, we've got a lot to look at. We need to have what's the next plan? And the next plan basically would be, we would probably have to go to our taxpayers, to our citizens, and ask for a lid lift on our current levy at this time, which probably should have been done a long time ago. There's been some really poor management of the direction of where we went with the funds, and that goes back a long ways. I'm not putting that on anybody here at all. I'm just stating that we do need to, in the back of our, not even very far in the back of our mind, we need to have a plan if for some reason this doesn't pass. And therefore, it's even that much more important about this person that we say we'd like to bring on for the communications of the RFA and the informational portion to our community of why this is so important to us. I will say to the citizens of District 21, or District 4, I'm sorry, of our community, District 4, we've been getting a really good deal here. And the service that's provided to us through the Local 106 and the District 21's, the firefighters, the service that's been provided as far as the response has been equal to, or just, just as good as anybody that's getting in the city of Bellingham or anywhere else. These guys work together as a team, and it's important that we do what we can to continue that. So I guess I'm looking for some direction on how we have to address this potential ILA contract adjustment, and also I guess that's prior to anything, we need to address that. And how are we going to adjust that contract? How do we reconcile, or 2020 is going to be paid, but we feel that if we go through that budget, we've overpaid, and we need to figure that out. That's going to hinder us all.
I'd like to make a motion then, but before I make a motion, I want to have some discussion.
Okay.
I remember what it was like 10, 11 years ago when it was District 4 just alone.
Yeah.
And, I also gave input and was asked for input on that contract for services. And I know there's differences about that 25% or that 23.99%.
Mm-hmm.
I personally completely understand why that exists, but I do know that over time things change. The cheese changes. You got to go find it some other way. And but I do understand that 25%, and I don't have a problem with it as much as others do. And that's the one thing about us all, that we come together and reconcile our differences and work things out and move forward. And but I think it's in the best interest that we move forward with this, so both boards do come to a very mutual understanding and agreement on how this has worked.
Right.
Because things are going to change, especially in a year from now. So hopefully they change in a very positive manner. But the motion I'd like to make is for
Can you hold on the motion, because you wanted to have discussion a little bit? I just want to follow up with you. I think you put that very well, Mark. Things have changed, and had the ILA, had it been followed, it was to be reviewed every year and changes made based on changes, and those didn't happen for the most part, and that's okay. It didn't happen. I think really I don't have a problem with the 25% as much as I have a problem with some of the items that are on the budget listed that we're paying 25% of. And that's what I think the real issue is. I don't know if Harry agrees with that. It's some of the things we're paying 25% for. Are we really getting those services, or should we be paying?
Things have changed over the last 10 years.
Right.
So we kind of need to, change things as well.
You bet.
Like I said, sometimes the cheese moves, you got to go find it. And that's what I think is the reconciliation that we understand here.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Harry, if you had any comment on that.
Yeah, I just am totally against this 25%. It's ridiculous. We have no control of what they present us and say, you got to pay 25%. That is wrong. We need to renegotiate the ILA and have a specific payment that we're going to make every quarter or whatever you want, and that would be it. That would save a lot of this stuff and payback, and you need to give us credit for this and stuff like that,
Right.
Gone.
So I think that's what Chief Vanderveen was kind of getting at when he brought up, I'm going to use the words that Chris told me. I don't know if they were your words, Chief, but chop budget, but it's kind of a chop budget format. And it's cut, not chop. Chop's my word. That's why I needed help.
Same thing.
But cut budget, which really brings us to exactly what Harry's saying is this, here's what we're going to pay. This is what we feel is going to be So at the end of the year, there's no discussion on it. It's here's what we did. We all agreed on this for next year. And I'm just gonna throw out, so maybe we say that if we cut out 50, I'm just gonna use a number, $50,000. Well, then our payment would be, 530, whatever the new budget is, minus whatever it's gonna be. But we have to be able to see their budget before we can agree on what we're going to pay. I'm not signing a blank check, and I mean if and I don't think Commissioner Andrews is going to sign a blank check. We got to be able to see what their budget numbers are, but for them to do that, we've got to kind of tell them how we want it what we're willing to do in fairness to them. So there's a lot of work to be done in a very short order. So how we go about getting that done is what I need to know.
If I could just really quick, just add a couple things. Really, the two models that we're looking at is what we'll use the cut budget word, but really it's taking I apologize, Commissioner Andrews, we're going to take the 25% or 23.99% formula.
Yep.
But we're going to we're basically going to line item. The theory is to line item veto certain things that District 4 does not use. So we'll take, the fire marshal position has been one that's been brought up multiple times today. So we'll use that. We'll cut that out. We'll cut out or potentially cut out, certain light items that District 4 doesn't partake in. And then apply that 23.99%. The other way to do it, Chris and I talked about it for kind of at length yesterday, is for District 21 to present you the cost of 12 firefighters for a year, so that you can split it up into quarterly payments. Plus, we would have to agree at some cost for personal protective equipment and SCBAs, and that would be added into the cost of the firefighters. And then, so you would have that known cost. And then District 4 would pay for everything else separate. So when the printer runs out of toner, it's on District 4. When the computer dies, it's on District 4. When the 2009 engine, when the steering box goes, that's on District 4.
Right.
Now I would assume that we would offer a contract for maintenance, rigs, basically a pass through.
Right.
But I think the more that I can't speak for Chris, but the more I started thinking about it, that's going to provide a lot of headaches, and it's going to make Chris and me have the same. She's going to be wearing as many hats as I am. She's going to become the facilities manager, the
budget police,
the office supply guru. All of a sudden your phone's ringing a lot, while it seemed at first blush, that was a really attractive option. Now there would be, of course, and Chris and I talked about this yesterday, you would also get a monthly invoice for overtime to cover the costs at Station 12 and Station 12 only.
Right.
I can't control those costs. Someone calls in sick or they get injured, that's just what happens. So there would be additional costs over the known costs, and you'd have to budget for that.
And I think
it's really complicated.
Yeah, I think a good thing to point out is at first when you hear these overtime costs and get an invoice, just think of it this way: if they were District 4 employees and there were 12 of them in there, and we had somebody call in sick, we're going to still get that same invoice in a timesheet, exactly. Right? We're going to pay that salary, so it really is neither here nor there. I mean, you're right. So I think that we're headed for a really great place. I think we all believe that we're headed somewhere good, and we need to do what makes the most sense and does keeps life a little bit easier on you folks. The one thing is talking about wearing too many hats. Chief, you're taxed, and there's no doubt about that. You wear a lot of hats and you're taking on a lot of responsibility. And the last thing I want to see is us, burn you out, and I know you're pretty tough and you can handle it, but it can only go so long. So Chris, I think you need to weigh in with us on, what you think's the best way. I think Commissioner Andrews, that I would encourage everybody within the next few days, next, 5 days or so, whatever, as soon as you can, if you want, talk to the chief about it, talk to Chris about it. And we need to come up with a plan that, in fairness to District 21, they do have a large budget to be working out, and it's not as easy as some people think by just grabbing the last year's budget, going and going, okay, we're going to go up 3% on this, we'll go 3%, go 3%. There's a lot of work that's got to go into it. And as well, I think we're asking, as I heard Commissioner Andrews, is that, there's certain things we've been paying for that we've already discussed. We don't need to go back into that, but some of that needs to come out. And so I would see a cut budget option. I don't know that, and again, I would like to hear more of Chris's thoughts on it. But the first option, instead of the second option that you were just stating, probably is more what we're looking at, where Harry, I agree with Commissioner Andrews, where if we can just come up with that set number, not a percentage, but well, it could be a percentage. We can get there any way we want, but we just want to know what that number is, and what's taken out. Is that kind of correct, Commissioner Andrews?
Well, who is going to decide that, them or us?
It would be something we do together.
We'd have to do it
It would
together.
be-
25% all by itself is ridiculous.
We'd have to do it together.
Yep, it would be something we'd arrive at.
I was strictly suggesting that maybe Commissioner Ansel and myself, or if either of you, Harry or Mark,
No.
want to take it on.
Well, I
But
think you have the right idea.
If we meet first and then come to you guys and present an idea, to present it to both boards.
Well, Dave, you asked for some action.
Yes,
So I was going to make a motion
yes.
to have you and Chris and Bruce
District
and the
21.
chief and Anita have this meeting.
I like that.
I like the idea, and I'd be happy to do that.
Yep.
So both have the two board chairs, the two finance managers and the chief sit together and work this out. I understand and I respect your position on that, Harry, and I understand how it can be frustrating how not having any control over that percentage.
Right.
And I understand how that percentage got there, but with that 25% and how the department is staffed, there's 4 stations and we account for a fourth of it. But there's some things that this district, these citizens are paying for that we don't get. I mean, we don't need a fire marshal that Blaine wants. We have a county fire marshal that we're already paying for. And I totally understand that. And that's where my reference was from, sometimes the cheese moves, you just got to go get it. And, but anyways, that was you wanted some direction.
That was good direction.
I was making the motion to request to move forward with that meeting.
All right. Commissioner Andrews, you want to second that?
I did.
Okay, we've had our discussion. If there's no more discussion, all in favor of that?
I
All right, we'll go ahead and move forward. Thank you, Commissioner Chamberlain, for opening up that very good discussion. And on that note, I think that covers both the 2021 and the 2020, the last 2 topics there. I do have, Chris, are you making sure that for the, that we're only invoicing $70 on the RFA planning committee meetings for our participation in those? So commissioners, we wouldn't get the whatever it is we get for a regular meeting.
Yeah, I do. You can see it on the payroll voucher. It's split up.
It is split up. Thank you. Thank you. And I don't look at those too close. I should. I'm sorry about that. I also had, let's see. I believe we had the unpaid invoice that to Winwood, the second invoice that had been, Chief, I think, just took care of paying that one for us, or?
It's all taken care of.
Okay. And I know Chief's talking with his group, making sure we that we're being diligent on invoices. I have, it's all of us have a reputation in this community, and one thing we don't want to have a reputation is of not paying our bills on time.
Understand.
Is not acceptable, and I know that we've all talked about that. And on that note, just beside that, no, I'm sorry, I've got that checked off. We're good. We're good there. That's taken care of. There was one other, and I know that one was taken care of too. So, any other notes before? Let's see what we've got here. Okay, we covered the deadlines for the ballot measures for 2021. Chris, did you have something on that for us?
Yeah, I sent out the information in the meeting packet with the deadlines when we have to submit our ballot measures.
And that would be the RFA.
Yeah, for the RFA, correctly. Yep.
All right. And Mark, you've got all that information, I would assume, probably. All right.
Karen has it right now. She's aware of it.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'd like to just go into probably just a short 10-minute, I better say 15-minute executive session. I don't know that we'll need all that, but just to evaluate your talk. The purpose of the executive session falls under the RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1, section 1G is what that would be, to evaluate the qualifications of applicant for public employment or review performance of public employee. And I just want to talk about a few personnel issues, and then we will come out of that meeting and be ready for adjournment. There we won't be taking any action on anything after that. And I think I'd just like the 3 commissioners to stay in on that